Hey everybody, welcome back to the CT70 garage. We're on this C102 project we've had a couple videos on. Before I jump into the electrical, I want to go ahead and button up a few things that I need to do. And one of them is swapping out this counter sprocket. This 110cc engine that I bought for this bike, it came with a 13-tooth counter sprocket, and from my experience, we want to go with something a little bit bigger. That 13-tooth will just have it geared so low that, you know, it'll be a wheelie machine, but you won't get much top end. So we're going to go with a 16-tooth. Now, if you go swapping sprockets on your aftermarket engine, make sure you get the right size. This shaft right here, the spline shaft, comes in two different sizes. There is a 17 millimeter, which is what this particular engine is, and then there is a 20 millimeter shaft. So it has a little bit, larger diameter. And what I'm talking about is the hole here. So you got to make sure that you get the correct one. You want to get it for a 420 chain, and it usually has it printed on the sprocket. Yeah, see how that one says 420 and 13T? The 13T is how many teeth there are. This one has 13 teeth. 420 is the style of chain. And like I said, this is a 17 millimeter hole. There are some engines that have a 20. I think, and if I speak incorrectly here, I apologize, but I want to say all of the original Honda Minis had a 17 tooth or 17 millimeter spline. It's just the aftermarket engines that have the 20. All right, so we need to grit some wrenches. We need to loosen up our adjuster. Obviously, we've gone with a bigger counter sprocket. We can't get the chain. Chain's not going to go on there, so we need to slide the whole tire forward a little bit so we can get it on. Crazy setup on this bike. Not exactly sure. Yeah, I think this nut just holds the sprocket too. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, we might have to loosen that up a little bit, I guess, to let the whole thing slide. Yeah, there we go. And it actually needs to be, I'm glad we're sliding it forward a little bit. It was all the way back on adjustment as far as it looks like it could really go anyway, so. All right. See if that created enough slack to get the chain on. There we go. All right. All right, so we'll tighten all that back up and we'll move on to something else. Since we're on this side of the bike, let's go ahead and Put the side case on. And the shift lever. And the engine comes with the supplied hardware. Although that one looks like it's going to be too long. It looks good. That looks good. This one looks to be a tad bit long. I doubt there's that deep of threads in there. No, there's not. We've hit the we hit bottom and haven't got it in far enough yet. Might be a joke there, I don't know. Okay. So what I'm talking about is this, and you can see I've got it. I felt like I hit the bottom of the threaded hole, and we are not quite there. So we're going to have to pull that back out and either find a shorter one, or let's see how many threads it has on it. See if we can just cut the threads off. Oh boy, you guys are sitting there very precariously. Look at where I set you down. Let's see what we got here. If we cut the threads off, it won't have many. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go take that. It's not going to focus on it. And I'm going to cut about half of those threads off and clean it up, and we'll see what happens. So I cut half the threads off of it. Let's see if I went too short. No, actually, I think that'll work. That works for me. Let's grab the chain guard and see how the chain guard is going to fit with this cover, and see if there's any kind of modifications that we need to do to this. I really don't want to modify the chain guard at all, but and I kind of like to run it, you know. Back, you guys, back up. See, I'm not sure what you're looking at. Oh, wrong way. So it bolted right there, and it bolts right here, but I can't quite get that up far enough because of this little tip right. Oh, wait a minute. I guess I just got to put that up in there first. So we can probably get that. Yeah, we can get the bottom half to bolt back on. Let's let me grab. Let's do that. Let's grab a couple pieces of hardware real quick. Now there was a trick. I remember in the first video we had to take this shock off or something, didn't we? To get that down in there. to get it to clear all that. Is that what we did? Oh, okay, yeah, that was a, but I think it's also threaded right here too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it just pushes out. Give me just a second, fellas. Get you up out of the way. This has got to get all the way down to here. What am I catching on? We didn't change anything back here other than we rolled the wheel a little forward. This is close to dropping down where it needs to be. Okay, there is a right here on the swing arm, there's a little rubber piece. I guess it's you know, for the chain, so the chain doesn't rub on the metal of the swing arm. I don't know. I have to get that behind that. It's one of those things, probably should have paid more attention when I was taking it apart. I'm a long way from getting it to drop on the back. All right. I know one of you sees it. What am I doing wrong? Now a long way from, what's it catching up on? I'm lost. Do I need to loosen all that up? I didn't loosen it up to take it off. All right, I'm not going to bore you with watching me try and figure out how to get this on here. I'm going to it's going to take me a few minutes to figure out how that drops down in there. All right, I think I know what's going on. It's that welded nut right there, I think, is catching on. I think that's catching on the chain. I think I actually do maybe need to loosen some of this back up. To create some space there. It just has to get by the chain, I think, and then once it's by that, then it'll clear the sprocket. Well, crap. All right, let me play with it some more. Okay, yeah, I finally did get it. I did have to, I just stuck a wrench into the front part of the sprocket and kind of pushed it over using the swing arm as for leverage, and it did eventually go. That takes a longer bolt back there than what I grabbed. So I got to go get the other hardware. I grabbed too short of a, I didn't grab the right bolt there. That's way too short. It won't reach the threads. I got to put that, put the shock back on, put it back together, and then we'll bring you back. We take on whatever the next challenge, either the tank or the carb. But let me get this buttoned up. But I'm glad to be able to have that it fits back on there. I'm not real cool on the gap there. I don't remember, well, I could paint it black. I don't remember if, did we have the engine case on the other? I boxed up the engine, and I don't have it here right now. I moved it into the other room. I wonder if we could get the original engine case to bolt to that engine. We'll have to look at that. All right, I'll be right back. All right, before I move on to the foot pegs, because I want to go see if I can find that cover, and that I don't know if I can get the cover on and off with the foot pegs on there. So before I go to the foot pegs, I think I'm going to look at the carburetor. And I'll be curious to see what happens with the shield, the white shield that fits on here, and how it's going to fit with our aftermarket carburetor and so forth. So the engine came with an intake, a little bit of hardware, and gasket, and the plastic insulator. It did not come with a carburetor. So I have these carburetors that I buy off of Amazon. They are there's what I'm buying. So it's a 22 millimeter carb. And I've used it on the last few bikes I've picked up. And it's got a little longer intake, a little different intake. It comes with a pod filter. It comes with an fuel filter, and it comes with the same type of insulator and gasket and some hardware. So between all of this, hopefully we can figure out somehow how to mount this to the bike. Both look like they would work. I don't know that one, the choke. This one is the one that came with the engine, the little shorter turn one, I believe is going to give us a little more clearance on the choke. If that will bolt to there, yeah. Yeah, that end goes there, that goes there. So let me take just a second and bolt all this up, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so I've got the carb all bolted up. Everything seems to have some clearance, and I used everything that was in the kit with the engine, with the exception of the carburetor. So this was the kit that came with the carburetor, and I didn't have to crack it open. I used the gasket between the intake and the engine, and the insulator between the intake and the carb. So now we're going to attempt to use the original throttle cable. So let's see if that's going to work for us. Slide the cap on, and then the spring. Then the cable. Lock this the right direction so that the slot fits with the little pin. You'll know if you have it right because when it falls all the way to the bottom. Okay. Oh, look at that. It even snaps back. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's see, just for kicks and giggles, how the fairing or the leg shield, I'm not really sure what the correct terminology is for that thing, how that's going to fit with the with this whole setup. I think I need to bring you out. Oh, wrong way. I go the wrong way all the time. Okay, how does this go on there? That looks to be the opening for the air filter. Well, we're not going to get a pod filter on that. That's for sure. Not without trimming it. Gosh, I really hate to trim this. You know, once you cut it, it's hard to go back. I wonder if we can clock what it would look like if we turned the intake around and put the carburetor out first. That's the way it originally was. The carburetor the intake was facing forward. There is another hole on the other side, which I'm assuming this hole was for maybe adjustment of the carburetor, and that side, one of these sides, was for getting to the choke. You actually can reach the choke from in here. It's just right there. Not sure if that's showing up or not. I think I'm going to take that off and turn that carburetor around just to see how it's going to like, because I really don't want to hack. I don't want to cut this to get that to fit. All right, bear with me a minute. I'm going to pull the carburetor and turn it around. Let's see what it looks like. Well, we hit a snag. We can't use this particular intake because I can't get it. The carb hits the tappet cover there before I can be able to get that to bolt down. So I'm going to take the carburetor off of that intake and see if this little longer, if this different configuration seems to help us. All right, so I've got the carburetor swapped around, and I swapped the intake, went to the bigger one, and that barely gives us enough room to bolt it on there. I did have one little, if I go with this setup, we'll have to fix this. Apparently on this particular intake, the spread of the bolt holes is slightly different. I can't get the other one in there. the bolt holes on this intake are a little too narrow. I can modify this. I can either drill out the hole or just cut that hole out all the way to make it a slot and get that to fit. That's not a big deal. But before I do all that, we need to look at the fairing, leg shield, and see what we think. If that would gain us anything or make things worse or whatever. Let's get our spark plug wire down in there. So that seems like it's going to fit somewhere around there. Yeah, that's not going to. The only thing is, if we could, it's got room. Get you guys here. All right, so the choke now is on the other side. We could get to the choke. Oh, you're not looking. I could get to the choke from the hole on the other side now. Definitely not going to stick a pod filter on that. Hang on, let's set you guys down. I'm going to go in front of the camera here, sorry. What do I do with the pod filter, guys? There it is. Now it's not gonna not gonna fit, not gonna let that turn. The original hose is not going to line up, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think I'll go back to the other intake, turn the car back around in the the conventional way that it's supposed to mount to this particular engine, and then I'll have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to run the leg shield or are we going to modify it. I would say we're probably going to modify it and get a pod filter to fit out the back. So. All right, let me go back and bolt it all back up into the carb configuration that we had to begin with. All right, so you can see that I've got the carburetor swapped around. I went ahead and bolted on the fuel tank. It has two lines that come out of it because the old carburetor had the on-off switch, I think, had a reserve setting on it. The new carburetor only has an inlet for one line, so I have plugged off the other line that goes up to the tank, which would be like your main or the on position, and I am using the reserve position to feed the carburetor. That way you're using the maximum amount out of the tank. I went ahead and put a little on-off thing on that. I think I'm going to go ahead and bolt on the foot pegs so that I can move on to the exhaust. And then if I have to take the foot pegs off to work on that side case on the other side, if I want to do something different there, we will. But for right now, we're just going to throw these on here so that we can kind of keep moving forward. And I probably won't even put all 4 bolts in. You know, I'll just put, I'll just do 2 and go across from each other, just so I can kind of see how it's all going to fit. The original foot pegs do bolt right up to the aftermarket engine, which is good. Seems like it's good placement. This particular engine is built just like the original like CT70 and Z50 engines. It's got that little notch cut out so the foot peg comes right up through there. All right, kind of swing this tape around here a little bit. So I've got the exhaust, and I'm a little concerned that the outlet on the exhaust port on this engine is going to be configured differently than the original engine. So I'm a little worried here about how this is going to fit. It looks like the only mounting places on the muffler are here, which looks like goes on where the swing arm bolt, and then there's 3 holes here. I'm not sure what lines up. Okay, it's just this one. All right, so I need a 10 millimeter. Huh. I wonder if that's the way it was. That sure doesn't look stock. I mean, you've got 2 holes that look very factory. This one and this one. And then this one, I mean, you could tell, it almost looks like it was drilled out as an afterthought. And look, they even had to notch. Not so sure this is how that originally mounted. I wonder if this is the original exhaust for this bike. I can tell you right now, we're not going to be able to put a socket back on that. We're going to need a 10 millimeter wrench. Thought I had one out here a little bit ago. There it is. Yeah, seems funny to me that it's got this particular muffler has got this bracket down here with 2 holes in it that very much look like mounting holes but aren't being utilized at all. But we're not going to worry about it. We're going to keep moving forward here. Let's see. Now I need a 14 millimeter wrench. Well, looks like that'll work. It's kind of tight around where the Kickstarter is. Hang on just a second. Let's... Yeah, we're going to hit there. We may have to go with some kind of offset Kickstarter. All right. You know, when you're doing this, when you're putting these different engines in these bikes, and I mean, you always got little problems you got to work around. You know, it's got the stand. There's a little pad right back here on the muffler that looks like that's where the stand's going to hit. Yeah, it probably is long enough to hit that. Maybe that might be the stock muffler. All right, let's see what we can do with the head tube. So it slides in. Yeah, I know. I should have put it in there before I bolted it up, right? I know it goes up in the head. I did check that. Well, we got to come up with a little play here. Come on, get in there. There we go. All right, that works. Uh-oh. We have a different pattern on the exhaust bolts. It looks like the ones on the engine are wider than the ones on this collar. So we're gonna have to do kind of what I talked about on the intake up here. We're gonna have to take and just slice that. Instead of that being a hole, that's gonna have to be a slot that we can do that. So back off we go. Of course I knew I was gonna take it on and off. Before we take it off, let's look at see what we got going on here. It looks like there must have been some kind of wrap, header wrap, that went around the head tube, and then there was a clamp that clamped that. I can feel it back in here on the exhaust. I can feel that it's tighter back here, but up here it's loose. So we're going to have to wrap, I'm going to have to find some kind of clamp and wrap that with like a header wrap, and then clamp all that down. And then, like I said, I have to slice that little point off of those holes to get on both sides to get that to go. All right, let me take it all apart and gather some parts and see what I can do, and bring you back when we're ready to put all this together. All right, I think I've got this exhaust buttoned up. I got this notched, and I got an exhaust gasket and my collar's up in there. That's good and tight. I got a piece of header wrap. It doesn't look great. It's up in there a ways. And I got a clamp on it to kind of hold all that. Got it all fastened down. So the exhaust is good and tight. I went ahead and put all the bolts in the foot pegs, because to get them back off, you got to take the exhaust back off. So at this point, I'm not ready to do that. So we'll worry about that side case thing maybe at a later date. I had really hoped to wrap this thing up today, but I'm not going to make it. I'm getting a little short on time, and we still need to do all the wiring that you see there. Do the wiring and fit that leg shield. That's about the last thing we do, but it's looking like it's going to be a video number 4. I'd really hoped to have done this in 3, but I think before we leave, I think we ought to hear it run. See if everything, what the exhaust, make sure I don't have too many leaks, and we don't have any leaks in the fuel system and so forth. So let me, I don't have any gas, any fuel in here. Be right back. Well, let's see what kind of leaks we're going to have. That ought to be enough, I would think. Okay, I don't see anything yet, so hopefully that means the tank is solid. It looked okay. Let's go ahead Hang on just a second. Before I open up that shutoff valve and blow a bunch of crap down into the carburetor, that's fairly clean. Now open it up to the carburetor. If it doesn't have any leaks. Get that out of the way. Table. So now we've got fuel. We need a little wiring harness to get it to run. Let's see. That's my coil wires. Oh, why is it so tight? Yeah, hang on a second. Ground wire is not working with me. It's a bigger bullet than what the wiring harness is. I don't think I mentioned either. I did find a Kickstarter with an offset that will clear the exhaust. All right, these are the wires from the engine. I just need the blue and white. Goes to the blue and white. Uh-oh. The other ones were tight. Those are loose. Where's the black and red? Let's see how... That one's a pretty good fit. Get a little pair of pliers and close that bullet connector up. This one was a tad bit tight, or a tad bit loose. There we go, that'll work. And then we got to hook the ground. Uh-oh, we've got two female ends. Let me find a little jumper here somewhere. I usually keep a box of random jumper wires. We need something that has two male ends. This has got it. They seem kind of big, but we'll see if they fit. Yeah, I think we'll get it to work. Okay. So we've got the coil hooked up. We've got the 3 wires from the engine hooked up that need it to make it run. We've got a CD. We do not have a kill wire, but we'll just choke it out to kill it. What do I do with the gas cap? Do that. Close that. Let's see. Let's let the table down so I can get on the bike. Got to go up to pull the pin to let it down. All right, make your guesses. How many kicks, if it starts at all? I'm going to say 3. I'm going to give it some choke. No leaks. Plug wires on. Make sure we're not shorting out against anything. All right, here we go. Thought I saw a fuel drip. Maybe not. Maybe I just saw a reflection off of that. Everything seems dry. Well, there you go. Got a lot of slop in our throttle. I don't like that. I don't like having that kind of slop. Either the cable to sheath must be too long. And I bet you, because of that, we're not getting wide open throttle. We don't have much throttle. We're just going from there. There, yeah. All right, we've got some issues to look at. Guys, I'm guessing there's going to be a video 4 because I've got to wrap it up for the day. I've got to wrap it up for today and go home and get some things done. So we're getting closer. We've got at least it runs now. So we'll tackle the electrical and kind of walk through that, fit that fairing and leg shield, and then hopefully take it for a ride. So once again, I appreciate everybody following along, comments and all the encouragement. And, you know, if you guys have a few complaints that, you know, some things I don't do the way they like them to be done, but that's cool. That's all good. You know, everybody works differently. So I do appreciate that you, like I said, follow along, subscribe, and like, and do all those things. Share the videos if you need to. So, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Later.